privilege of introducing Mike Lorelli. Mike joined the High Associates team in 1988 as the development analyst overseeing the market research activities. If I get that out. Today, Mike is the Senior Vice President of Commercial Asset Management and has been in this role since 2007. Mike's responsibility are for the management of the commercial industrial portfolio for High Associates, which is over 6.4 million square feet. He is a graduate of E-Town College, where he earned his BS in Business Management. He is a member of the Lancaster County, the National Association of Realtors, the Institute of Real Estate Management, and the Commercial Investment Real Estate Institute, or CCIM, of course. In addition to his roles inside High, he has served in various roles with United Way, Fulton Opera House, March of Dimes, and Boy Scouts of America. Mike Lorelli.
Well, I'm sure you can see from Mark's presentation, he's very enthusiastic about where the industry is from a national perspective. I actually have the pleasure to say that I'm enthusiastic about where we are from a local perspective. So unlike the doom and gloom messages of the past, today you're going to find some really pleasant news about how our market is performing. Before we get started on the actual results, I just want to kind of outline for you what our methodology is in gathering that information. First, we use primary resources, and we also use secondary resources such as CoStar and C&I. For the industrial space, we look at institutional grade for leased properties, and the criteria is they have to be over 10,000 square feet. And our marketplace is the entire county of Lancaster. For office, once again, institutional grade for leased properties, and the size criteria actually reduces down to 5,000 square feet, or larger properties are included in our database. And once again, we look at the municipalities surrounding Lancaster City. For retail, the statistics are those that are gathered by the C&I Council, and I do want to thank them for their research. And then finally, we do exclude owner-occupied properties. So you will see the Nordstroms and Urban Outfitters were excluded from our report. Some major office changes that occurred this past year that I want to kind of raise up for your review. In Greenfield, we did have a contraction of McNeil Pharmaceutical that did increase vacancy by 25,000 square feet, and that certainly had an impact on the overall results of the market. With Class B, an amazingly strong performance this year, and really in downtown properties. You're going to see positive absorption in Burrell, Liberty Place, and 53 West James Street. One thing also I want to point out is, unlike the industrial product, we actually saw no new construction in this class, and there is actually no new construction forecasted for 2016. That's probably a good thing because of some of the mergers and acquisitions within the banking industry and other industries that make up Lancaster's business community will have a negative impact in 2016 and 2017 to come. And then once again, unlike 2014, we actually had a little bit less activity in this product class this year. 22 buildings actually had activity out of the entire sample group. So where did that leave us? For Class A, as you can see, because of the activity that happened in Greenfield, unfortunately the product actually had negative absorption of 10,400 square feet. This is the third year in a row that this product type has had negative absorption. What that did was it had obviously a negative impact on occupancy or vacancy. So we went from 13.9% vacancy to a current level of 14.8%. Well below the 16-year average absorption of 13,000 square feet. And once again, I do see a deterioration of that to occur in 2016, 2017. Current available supply right now stands at 267,000 square feet. For Class B space, I never thought I would say this, but we actually approached near 100,000 square feet of Class B space being absorbed this year. You can see, once again, 86,000 square feet, and once again, most of that was in downtown Lancaster. Vacancy went from 19% down to 15.6%, leaving us an available supply of 420,000 square feet. One thing I do want to call out with the Class B space is, if you look, we had 86,000 positive this year. Still, with the positive absorption that occurred over the past 4 years, the 16-year average is still a minus 2,000 square feet. Is our track record for this product type. So once again, really great activity and great things are happening downtown. In business center space, pretty much steady as we go, like suburban office space that Mark talked about earlier. We saw about 18,000 square feet absorbed. That compares to 13,000 on a 16-year average basis. The nice thing is we did see vacancy reduced down from 14.2% down to 12.6%. But as you can see, with an absorption of 13,000 square feet on an annual basis, a supply of 148,000 still says that there's more than adequate supply out there. So the likelihood for new construction is probably pretty low for that. Moving on to industrial. Once again, just like with the national trends, industrial is absolutely the strongest product here in our market, both industrial and flex. We did have one new project that was added at Dillerville Road, which is the Gateway Business Park, which is a flex building totaling 105,000 square feet that did come online earlier in the year. And they successfully leased 45,000 square feet of that, so there's 60 available. Running Pump Road, they had a large tenant that moved down in 14, and they were successful in backfilling that in 2015. So once again, a very positive impact on the flex product when we take a look at the results. One of the other things I want to raise up is, once again, we have not seen a lot of speculative development take place in the industrial market. We did see 2 new buildings being added this year, one in Mount Joy and one in East Hempfield, which are owner-occupied projects. We will probably see that continue for another year or two until rents actually justify new construction costs. Owners will continue to pay a slight premium to have their buildings or own their buildings. So I do anticipate that trend to continue. There is one new speculative warehouse that is being proposed in Conewago, and actually it's broken ground. This will be included in our 2016 statistics for next year, and it will likely lease. And then also, I just want to raise up, there is a lot of plans in the process right now with Lancaster County Planning Commission. Nearly 1 million square feet of warehouses are being proposed in our community. Once again, this is a very hot market. If all those come online, we may see a compression on pricing, especially with the older product. And then once again, strong demand in 2015, over 18 properties had positive absorption within the industrial segment. So as far as results, we had 37,000 square feet positive absorption. Once again, a lot of movement in the marketplace, tenants moving from building to building. We've also saw some companies contract out of Lancaster County, but we were successful in backfilling those vacancies as they arrived. And once again, you're going to see vacancy has decreased from 6% to 5.73. If you remember what Mark pointed out, on a national basis, vacancy is actually 8.5 on a national basis. So we're performing at nearly 300 basis points better than the national vacancy rate for the industrial product type. We still have an available supply of 879,000 square feet. A lot of this does have some functional obsolescence. That may also put some pressure on new construction for 2016, 2017. Turning to flex, great year for flex. You're going to see 77,000 square feet of positive absorption. Once again, primarily because of those 2 projects that I outlined earlier on the previous slide. However, you still see the vacancy rate increase because while we brought 105,000 square feet on, only 77 was absorbed. So our vacancy rate increased from 11.6 to 12.7, which is where it currently stands. And we have 117,000 square feet available in the marketplace. And once again, I do want to point out our historic average is 15,000 square feet, so we do still have an 8 to 10 year supply available out there for occupancy. And then once again, just touching on the statistics that were compiled by C&I, retail had 38,000 positive square feet absorbed, reducing vacancy from 7.3 down to 6.7. And once again, slightly off the 16-year average of 61,000 square feet annually absorbed. There was no new construction, and as we pointed out, there are 2 projects that are slated for beginning construction in 16. Those will more likely be added to our study in 2018. And then finally, as we've talked about, employment is really the driver for real estate consumption. 2015 marked the year that we finally recovered all the recessionary losses in employment here in Lancaster. And if you look, basically, we had a 0.6% increase in employment over the period of 2007 to 2015. Unemployment dropped slightly from 4.1% unemployment to 3.8%. Once again, almost at full employment, really, here in Lancaster. And this number may actually be a detriment in attracting companies to Lancaster because of the lack of available workforce. How did that employment actually manifest itself here in Lancaster this past year? Of the 1,900 jobs that were added in Lancaster, we saw a loss of retail positions to the tune of 47. We saw an increase of 377 office-related positions. Once again, a lot of it in the TAMI industries, technology and advertising. Industrial positions decreased by 1,200 positions this past year. That number actually surprised me because we did have 2 large facilities come online, Nordstrom's and Urban Outfitters this past year. So I was really surprised that at the end of the day, we still netted a loss of 1,200 positions. Healthcare, once again, continues to be the driver of employment here in Lancaster. We had 771 jobs created this year. If you remember back last year, we actually had 750 positions, healthcare related, added in Lancaster. So once again, really one of the growing industries and will continue to grow for the foreseeable future. And then obviously the last category is a combination of food. As you can tell, I like food, so I was glad to see that we added more positions. Hopefully better service to the tune of 1,300 positions. Okay, that kind of concludes our presentation. Does anyone have any questions for Mark or I on the materials presented today? Bill.
I had a question for Mark. He referred to as the retail as one of the preferred risk-adjusted returns. Is there a new calculation now that's handicapping all the properties types?
It's not new. It's been around. You look at the volatility of the return. So you look at the risk associated with the asset class and then evaluate the return relative to that risk and volatility.
And who's the handicap?
It's a complicated calculation that I can share with you after if you want, but it's just a mathematical calculation.
That's just a nationally accepted form?
Yep.
Any other questions? Well, thank you very much, and once again, it's been a really great year, and I look forward to